you as a business owner need to take responsibility to have the relevant advisors and professionals in your team to help you in this very complex environment. In the same way that you have a legal team to make sure that whatever you write down in a contract and whatever you sign is legit and there is no opportunity for slippage. It's the same thing with payments. Now, what I see, which in my opinion is a huge mistake, that people are hiring accountants or lawyers or even developers because of the integrations and the data security and whatnot to handle their payments. And they might not have internally or externally the relevant people to advise them on those risks. And what you don't know, you don't know.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. My name is Dinos. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this channel. It helps us create more content and deliver more episodes for you. Hope you enjoy this episode.
Here we are. There's another episode on the Financial Frontiers podcast. Today, my guest is Viktoria Soltesz.
That's right.
If I got that right. Viktoria, you're lucky to be in this studio, which is, I've never done one here. It just happened, it wasn't planned. The normal one has some electricity problems, so special kind of episode, I guess.
That's right. Universe is gifting us with with all those little perks.
100%. So good. Viktoria, your background mainly around banking, payment gateways, how money moves, as you have in your book explanation, and how your book is titled, so Moving Money. How Banks Think, which I've actually read, by the way. Very good book. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Victoria, please give us a background about yourself. Tell us, introduce yourself, and let's get into a discussion over here based on what you have to share, your knowledge. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for having me on this episode. I was really excited to join you because I'm watching the podcast for a while and I can see that there are really interesting subjects being discussed. As you said, my background is indeed finance. I actually started as an accountant about 20 years ago in Cyprus. So my original background is doing accounting. Then I specialized to be a tax consultant. And 20 years ago, the life was different. There were a lot of international companies who came to Cyprus, setting up different local companies and integrate them in the big picture, in the international group of companies to take advantage of the different tax benefits and the banking scene of Cyprus, which was back in the day, it was much more easier than nowadays. So my original job was creating tax structures, advice to clients about how to open bank accounts, and obviously how to invoice within the international group of companies so it's legal and also beneficial for the whole group. I was working as a CFO for various different companies, and I remember one day when my ex-boss came in and he said that, I can't believe my money is blocked. You were the head of accounts, the CFO. You need to figure out what's going on, and we need to make sure that the bank is doing what we are telling them to do, otherwise we are taking our business somewhere else. And I started to realize that things are looking like it's changing somehow. Now the banks have the upper hand and the tables have turned, so it's no longer the banks are begging for our business, but we need to play by the bank's rules and we need to satisfy them, to the point when I remember they actually started to calculate the loan interest on a certain transfer. So there was a principal amount, there was a loan interest on that, and the bank said that according to this loan agreement, the amount is wrong, so you cannot transfer. So they got involved up to this detail. And me being a curious person, back at the day, there was no Google in this way as we have now. Obviously, we didn't have like ChatGPT and whatnot. So it took me a good couple of months until I was searching for answers that what happened, what is compliance. 10 years ago, compliance was a new word. There was no compliance officer. There was a legal team who is telling you more or less what to do, but there was no compliance department to advise you on those kind of details. And then the bank asked about our passport copies and utility bills, which was, again, completely new thing. So me being curious, I was Googling everything, trying to find the answers. And then I realized that no one seems to have those answers, right? No one really understands why the banks are asking for certain things, why certain transactions are allowed, why certain transactions are frozen, and it also changes bank by bank. So it's not something which is a blanket regulation which hits everyone in the same time. It is very subjective. And then I realized that there could be something interesting to be done here, because if I ask the relevant questions and I get the answers, I can explain this to my clients, and then I can tell them that, yes, I understand banks are evil and banks are giving you a headache, but we are living in a world when you need banks to be able to move the funds, to be able to pay your employees, to get, obviously, the funds from your clients. So you need to work with those banks and how to reduce those problems and issues which are arising from compliance. And once you have one client, you have them all, because those are the same questions, the same issues, the same banks, the same explanations. So originally, I wrote the book as a training material for my own company. And it was very raw. It was just a description of the different explanations of the banking and the shortenings. But when I started to send out articles and paragraphs of the book for my clients, explaining that I know your problem, I've done that, I've been there. Read this chapter, which is about a very similar case, and then come back to me if you have any more questions. Then I realized that there is a need for a book which is more summarizing the current problems and gives answers of how banks think and overall how to move money internationally. And that's when I wrote the book, and it came out in January. Thankfully, it has a very warm welcome, not just in the industry, but by everyone who ever had any kind of problem with the bank. So it's not only about the high-risk industries, which are the forex businesses or brokerages or gambling companies or any other high-risk categories, but also traditional international e-commerce businesses who are moving money online internationally face obstacles with banks, and they tell me that the summarization somewhat is giving them a lot of aha moments. And then once you understand that, so this is the reason, it's not really difficult, but you need to focus your attention onto those things. So you don't know what you don't know. With this book, you at least understand that what are the questions which need to be asked to be able to move money internationally. So this is in a nutshell the journey. That's what made me write the book, and it actually goes through from the banking history, explaining why compliance was even born, what is compliance, what are the elements of the compliance, as I said, the utility bill, the passport copy, and overall, what is the reason that the bank is giving you headache? And what I'm explaining in the book is that the banks are not just simply being evil just for the sake of making your life hard. There is also a regulator for financial institutions which are running their operations. And if you understand what their regulation needs, then you understand what the banks are asking from you too, and then you can plan better. You can actually find safer providers, safer channels. You can allocate your traffic in a much more informed way if you're doing some planning, as well as or optimize your costs as well around these payment institutions. So in my opinion, this is a very needed knowledge for everyone who is moving money online and want to understand how banks think.
Sure. Yeah, you said quite a lot there, and I'm going to have to unpack quite a bit, but it makes a lot of sense. I think everybody who, even from a personal level, so I personally have some examples where I've had some banking issues from a personal level and also on a business level. And a lot of the stuff in your book, I like the way you explain it, very simplistic way, easy to understand, easy to grasp, and then then plan accordingly and position yourself so that you don't run into these issues. So, I can give some examples of issues that I've had and how I resolved. So I had Revolut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Revolut, neobank.
Yeah.
And there was some, I can't remember the reason, but there was some flow happening higher than normal.
Mm-hmm.
It accumulated to, I think, 10 or 11,000, which I wasn't using the Revolut account for anything larger than a few €100, right? And then all of a sudden, some money arrived in the account. It accumulated to around 10, 12,000 euro, whatever it was. And then I tried to access my Revolut one day and blocked. I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't send. I can't remember if I could receive, but there was an issue, right? So I went through the process. They were asking me for documents, and it's a neobank, so they don't have a lot of stuff. The whole idea of a neobank is that they trim down their costs and make everything built into automation built into the app. But it wasn't working. I wasn't getting the result I wanted. I was going through the process. I was giving them whatever document they wanted, okay, and go. And then I was getting diverted to their AI bot, which was telling me, upload this document, that document. And I'll do it, and they'll say, thank you, we'll get back to you. Some weeks would go past, they wouldn't get back to me. And then I'd try again. This was going on for months. And I was discussing it, over lunch. Some guy told me, why don't you just go on social media, post about it? So I said, okay. That's what I did. So I went on. I found one of their posts. They posted something about, we're expanding to Japan or whatever. So I go, before you expand to Japan, why don't you just look at, your existing market? I've got a problem. You've had my thing frozen for so many months. Please tell me what's happening. 10 minutes later, my account was done.
Done.
So that says a lot of things, right? Number one is the overhead that they have there, because I wasn't doing anything shady. My account should have been unfrozen quite a long time ago. So there's that. There's also, the understanding of, at any given, what if I was just reliant on that one account to pay my expenses and whatever it is? I would have been stuck. I would have had to go, ask someone for a loan or whatever it is. I would have been in a pickle, which, why? And the other thing is how much banks pay attention to what the community has to say. Mm-hmm. So, bad reputation, whatever it is, the minute I posted, they're on that like a hawk. Mm-hmm. So, what's your thought about that? What can you give behind the result of my personal experience and, how banks are evolving, right? Because we've got, normal banks where you can go and you get a loan or whatever it is. I don't think you can get from Revolut. And then, the neobank model and how they're able to handle. Because here's the other thing, and just to conclude, if my account was frozen with Bank of Cyprus, for example, I can just pick up, speak to my account manager. So, there's pros and cons. The pros over here that I can see is with the Bank of Cyprus, I would have been able to reach somebody who knows me personally and then resolve my problem quicker.
Yeah, but would you though? Because the person who is sitting at the teller desk is obviously capable to do so much, right? So you still do need to go through that compliance officer who is sitting somewhere hidden in the ivory castle of the bank's headquarters and making decisions over death and life, which is the same situation with the neobanks as well. Now, you're describing a problem which is very, very common, and I hear this all the time. And it's not only about the personal level, but think about if you had a company and the company's account gets blocked. Now, obviously, it seriously affects your operation, your capability to have a good reputation with your supplier, with your clients. Imagine that your main account as a business is frozen for months, but even just for weeks. What is the damage that it causes you? Now,
it could close you down.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. And we are living in a world that we can change so much. So it's clever to think about how to adapt to the existing situation than change the world. Because I can talk about for years how to change the world and why is it bad, but obviously this is not what we are here for. We all know those kind of conversations. What we need to focus is what we can change. In your personal experience, as well as if you're facing the same situation, if you're a business, what you can do is to get ready for the worst case scenario. And not many people do. So if you have a Revolut account, have another one as well. It could be an online bank, it could be, as you mentioned, Bank of Cyprus, have alternatives. So you are not forced in a situation when you're asking for a loan from a family member or a friend just to survive, right? Just to be able to buy food. In the same way, companies do need to plan ahead, and they need to understand that this situation can hit at any given moment. It's a whole different conversation of whose fault is that. Is it Revolut and the customer service or whatnot? But your responsibility as a business owner to make sure that if this happens, it poses the minimum amount of risk on your operation and you still be able to manage the business flow. Now, that's one thing. The other thing is that, as you mentioned, that neobanks are really paying attention and focus on the customer service, which is nowadays everywhere. So wherever you go, it's not only the fintech companies and the financial services, it's basically everything. So if you go to Twitter or you go to Instagram and you start bad-mouthing any of the company, the customer service department immediately jumps on that and they need to resolve the problem because that creates more damage to the company than not to handle that, and obviously the reputation goes down. This is what we see with large other companies who are now paying attention to being politically correct, diversifying their management, being on the right side of the politics and not damage the environment and whatnot. So this is all coming together as a new wave of presenting yourself as a company out there. So obviously Revolut is not that different. But if you see, they are obviously trying to minimize the costs. And as you said, that you might actually go to Bank of Cyprus and then the teller is trying to help you. Can be, yes, very, very frustrating. And I think the biggest problem here is that people, if you don't see the person that you're dealing with, you don't feel safe. That what if my account stays frozen forever? Meanwhile, you think, which could be right or might not be right, that if you're camping in front of Bank of Cyprus long enough, then they will release your funds. But deep down on the operational level of the bank, which could be neobank, a traditional bank, or any other financial institution, they still need to go through all those regulatory requirements, which is update your passport and utility bill and whatnot, which allows them to release your funds. So your front end might have a limited view of maybe give you a bad perception, which might not be correct, that how much you can do from your end. But overall, it is basically the same procedure for Bank of Cyprus as well as Revolut to unlock your funds and ask more questions on that. So
and also the example that I have with my business. Initially, I was just with Bank of Cyprus, and then I can't remember exactly what happened, but they frustrated me, and that triggered me to go and open a plethora amount of other banks' accounts. And I was like, Wise, Business, Revolut, whatever. And so, but it's harder said than done, because when you invoice customers, how many banks are you going to give? How are you going to diversify? Different funds coming into different places, and then there's also the payments that you make out. Especially in Cyprus, and I'm sure this applies across the globe, is where, if I send money from the Bank of Cyprus to another Bank of Cyprus account, there's no fees, versus if I send from my Eurobank account, for example, there's a fee, and then they charge fees that doesn't make sense to me, and then also cross-border, obviously. There's so many, and as your book explains, there's so many different vulnerability points where the bank might come and say, listen, I'm freezing your funds and I don't care what happens with you, but I need to make sure that as a bank I preserve my license, so I have to do this. But now you're stuck as a business, so it is good to at least have the relationship in place, even though the money is constantly flowing to one specific bank. If the shit hits the fan, at least you've got some alternate options. And so one thing is, which is great advice, but sometimes there might be in the background a single point of failure, vulnerability, as you've explained in the book. And this comes, I guess, more with payment gateways, PSPs, and whatever it is. You didn't mention PSP Angels, right? You still have PSP Angels?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's my consultancy company, which is giving these independent advice to anyone who has problems with moving funds. So it is involved the gateways and the banking, but actually giving overall advice of everything and explaining everything.
Right. And so, I mean, there's other things to consider there,
yeah.
right? So you could have, in the effort of trying to diversify yourself, you get multiple PSPs, but then they've all got one common denominator, common failure point, a bank or whatever it is. And if that bank tanks, now your diversification was meaningless, right? And this is more for the businesses out there. What should they look for in terms of making sure that each payment gateway or whatever provider it is, that it is truly unique, that they properly diversify themselves and are not linked to the same single point of failure, let's call it.
Yeah, right. There's $1 million question right there, right? So if someone could know that, then obviously that would resolve a lot of issues in the industry as a whole. But yeah, that's correct. You mentioned an interesting point that you as a business owner need to take responsibility to have the relevant advisors and professionals in your team to help you in this very complex environment. In the same way that you have a legal team to make sure that whatever you write down in a contract and whatever you sign is legit and there is no opportunity for slippage. It's the same thing with payments. Now, what I see, which in my opinion is a huge mistake, that people are hiring accountants or lawyers or even developers because of the integrations and the data security and whatnot to handle their payments. And they might not have internally or externally the relevant people to advise them on those risks. And what you don't know, you don't know. So if you think that you can actually manage your own legal affairs as well. The risk is on you, however, right? So I can look at the contract, and me not being a lawyer, I can advise that, oh, it looks good, let's sign it, right? In the same way, when you're getting approached by a bank, a financial institution, a PSP or something, you can look at them and you say, I know you, we went to the same school, I trust you enough, here's my €1 million. Would you really want to do that? Well, it's your responsibility and your decision as a business owner. So I have to highlight that if you really want to minimize your risk, you do need help. And now we see more and more that with the compliance addition, with us being in the high-risk industry with forex brokerages and investment firms and whatnot, it is a high-risk industry on its own. You do need to understand all those risks which are surrounding you, because there are a lot of gray area. And even though your legal team might say, that's legal, go for it. The bank might say that, yes, it is legal. However, there is an opportunity for wrongdoing, so I'm not going to take the risk with you. And you might end up with all those payment service providers or banks or any other financial institution who says that, yeah, give me your money, that's fine. I have multiple like you balancing on the gray area, and I'm taking the risk. If one of you fails, then I might fail with it. But is it really where you want to keep your funds? Is it really someone that you want to work with on the long term? And that's why you need to have someone who has a deeper understanding of the banking setup, how the payment service providers work, what are the fees that you are being charged and why, how to optimize those fees in case that there is even an opportunity. Is there any possibility to go back and renegotiate the terms and conditions? Because many times I've seen that you just open a bank account 20 years ago and we are working with them ever since. Why? Because we never thought about renegotiating anything. So there could be a lot of low-hanging fruits in the payment operations that you can optimize. You can improve. There are new payment methods. There are new fees. There are new options. Your business is changing. The payment service provider is changing. Everything is changing. And the second part that you mentioned, that many times those payment service providers are just, let's say, the front end for a very complex network of banking and other financial services providers who are just summarizing into one end payment service provider or gateway, which is offering those services to you. And you might not even know that who is the underlying bank. Because let's say that you're signing an agreement with PSPA, it's an internal information that what PSPA is doing at the background. How do they diversify their own portfolio? What is their risk appetite? What is the high-risk clients that they may take, what you obviously don't know about because this is not public information. Then how do they handle your payments? When they are taking your client's card or mobile wallet, what is the route that that payment is actually taking? And they are being at the front end, which they are giving you the customer service and the data security and the fraud alert and whatnot. They still need to be connected to the bigger banking setup, which is globally moving the funds. And this is the way that if someone is paying you from China or from South Africa or from Argentina, the banks are overall understanding how those funds are moving, and then you get your settlement from that PSP. Now, as we said, that there are a lot of information which is not public information. So in this way, you can either guess, you can do your due diligence, you can pray and hope for the best. But overall, you do need to understand that what is the risk that you are taking, because many times it happens that one payment provider might overdo their risk appetite a little bit. There is a bad apple in the whole pool, and then that bad apple gets some kind of a chargeback or a complaint or a refund request, and then the whole financial institution gets investigated as a whole. Now, whoever that financial institution is giving them the channel, PSPA, PSPB, or even you directly integrate with the bank, that could be you as an end user, all those funds are being frozen on the financial institution level. What can you do about it? Collect as much information as you can and make the relevant decision. But diversify, and make sure that there is no bottleneck in any way in your operation when there is one financial institution is holding you by the by the collar and then
say it.
and then can squeeze you up to a point when they can absolutely demolish your company. Just think about it. One day you go to work, you try to log into your favorite bank, favorite payment service provider, and they say that no, how much damage is going to cost to your business.
One of the examples that you brought in that book, which made me realize that you cannot possibly know every single thing that could go wrong.
Yeah.
And the example that you explained in the book was where there was an online merchant, proper legit business, nothing shade, like not even high risk. I can't remember the nature of the business, but there was one payment that came in from a customer whose name and surname had a character that the banking system didn't allow. So it translated her surname, which was
Erzsébet, which is Elizabeth in Hungarian.
Correct.
And the A is the special character.
Correct.
So it came through Erzs, special character missing, bet.
Yes.
And it triggered the bet.
Correct. And it flagged their system. They saw, oh, there's a bet transaction, and they froze the whole thing.
Exactly. Of course. There are betting activities going on here.
That is crazy. And until you find the right person and explain, and let alone, imagine you with a neobank where you don't speak to a specific person, what happens there, So I think it was the correct response, that where you said diversify like 5 times.
Yeah.
I think that's the best someone can do. At least what's in your control is to diversify. So one question that I had is, we all know, and in this podcast we speak generally about insights and knowledge around how businesses can help their operations generally, and also the trader, how they can look at certain things to ensure that their funds are safe. Mm-hmm. And so we have a broker, all right? And let's say the customer sends their money and it's held by the PSP. But the broker has the obligation to have clients' funds. Hasn't reached their funds haven't reached the client's funds account yet, the custodian. So, I mean, I guess it's an obvious answer over here, but this opens up so many complexities in terms of cash flow, right?
And responsibilities too.
Yeah, so if, I'm a broker and just a basic example, my customers have sent me directly to my bank 100,000 euro, right? And I've got them in the client's funds account. I'm not allowed to touch it. It's different to the operational expenses. And then through my PSPs, which have a rolling payout, they hold the money for 15 days. I guess 15 days isn't too long, but there's definitely a bit of a risk. So imagine 100,000 is held by the PSPs. You should have 200,000 over here, because the PSP balance isn't regarded as clients' funds. It's right. It's
in the air.
It's in the air.
Yeah.
So the right thing for the broker to be compliant, they need to get that 100,000 until it clears in their bank. They need to find it somewhere and put 100,000 in the client's bank account. So there's a cash flow problem here to be compliant at all points.
And it happens with a lot of e-commerce businesses as well. So when you think about it, that the payment service provider keeps back settlements, as you mentioned, for 15 days. Many times it's even 30 days if you're a startup, if you're a low volume merchant. But you still do have refunds, for example, or you still need to, buy the supplies, which is running the whole operation. You still need to buy the materials and whatnot to create ongoing products and services to offer to your clients. And you have a really good point here that without planning, I've seen many startups who are just jumping into the business and they don't even think about the cash flow, how does it affect them, what is the amount which needs to be coming out of a shareholder's pocket as a periodic loan, as we say, just to cover some areas when you need some cash. You have cash, but it's in someone's pocket. So until it actually gets cleared onto you, you still need to manage the operation. And the biggest problem why startups fail is indeed the cash flow problem. And the other one is the lack of planning. And the planning we see nowadays, everybody's an entrepreneur, right? So you go to YouTube and everybody's talking about the marketing plan and the sales and the funnel and the leadership skills and whatnot, which it is important, don't take me wrong, but somehow no one is mentioning the payment providers and the banking and the related costs. So just give you an example. Let's say you open a new business and you're selling something for like 100 euros, right? A thing. That thing costs you 80 euros to purchase. So you're working with a healthy 20% profit margin, right? It's not uncommon. Then you get yourself a payment provider, which is, let's say, 3%, which is a very general price. And then you start to work with that payment provider. Now, when you sell a thing for 100, many times GST or VAT or any added consumer tax is hitting it. Let's say in this example, let's say it's 20%, which is more or less legit. In Cyprus, it's 19%. Now, you need to pay that 3%, not on the 100 euro, but 120, which is immediately making the percentage 3.6. Yes. However, if you put this 3.6 euro or percent compared to the 20% of your profit margin, you are facing an 18% costs on your profit to the payment provider or bank or whatever you're engaging with, and you're not even planning about it. So it could increase your cost and risk up to a point when the marketing budget comes as second, or the sales funnel, or the leadership skills, which I'm again highlighting that it is important. But if something is eating up your profit, 18% in this example, and you're not even planning for it, there's a problem. 100%. So.
When I got to that section of the book, what I actually did in my operations, and I got this idea from another book called Profit First. I can't remember who the author is. Profit First. So the concept there is businesses, the idea of being an entrepreneur and setting up a business is that the business works for you, not you for the business. So the concept there was whatever money comes in, pay yourself first, right?
Okay.
And then the operational expenses. If you're not able to do that, your pricing is wrong. So, but I took that, like expanded it further, and this is what I did, right? I've got different bank accounts. I've got the bank account that is where the invoices are paid. I've got a taxes account. It's hidden. I cannot see it. And I've got a profit account. And then there's a rough percentage. Whatever money comes in, 20% of that, it's not my money. I have to pay it. It's tax. And not only the VAT, the corporate tax.
That's right.
And the dividends tax. So I take that out and I put that in the account. I cannot see it. I take out the profit. What should be, because when you price, your services or product, there's theoretically, your cost of sales, operational expenses, and then profit. So I take the profit out and I put it in. And then I see, am I able to run my business with whatever's left behind? I don't look at those accounts. So when the tax bill comes, I don't have to take it out of the money that I'm working with in the bank account every day. It's hidden. I'm like, whoa, that accumulated quite nicely. Okay, there we go, paid. I didn't feel a pinch, And also the dividends get paid, like this. You started on an example in your introduction where you're introducing yourself, where the business owner said, where's my money? I mean, my profit. I'm such a profitable business, but what's happening? I don't see any money in my bank. So this I don't realize this kind of issue because of this very simple methodology I follow. Money comes in instantly. 2 bank accounts. I send them out, and then from there I work my operating expenses. If I'm not able to pay, something's wrong. So I'm paying something too much. So there's
well done to you, because not that many people actually do that and running their business. So it's either kudos to you or your accountant or whoever advised you or you came up with this. But trust me, not that many businesses are operating in the same way, unfortunately.
Because I've been part of operations where whatever money comes in, including the VAT, including everything, is spent to pay expenses. And then when the period comes and you have to pay whatever it is, you're like, oh my God, we have to pressure this customer to pay. He's got the most delayed invoice, but you're just creating a
snowball.
A snowball. You're not really mitigating the problem. From the get, as it comes, easy life.
Well done.
So I wanted to ask you another point which I didn't really get, I didn't fully understand, and I was also reading it quite fast, so I missed it. But you spoke about a new concept in banking where you said it was, I think you referred to as open banking. And you, at some point in the book, you said this is a risk to Visa and MasterCard and card payments. So, and that's all I got from there. I don't understand why. So tell me what open banking is.
Right. Strictly speaking, open banking is something when an application is helping you to make direct bank wires. So right now you want to send me money. I give you my IBAN number, which is CY 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16-digit number. Maybe you mistype something. Maybe you just don't remember the thing. It's a hassle to send me money. Now, they developed an application which is connected to your bank, connected to my bank, and through an application we can send money to each other directly without typing in the 16-digit code. Now it's good because there is a security element, so you don't need to know my bank details. There is an ease element because you don't have to type the 16-digit IBAN number or 18-digit or whatnot. And it's much easier because then if we are connected to the same system somehow, then the bank transfer is executed really quick. Now, as everything, which is good, coming with some downfalls as well. So in case that I'm sending you money, I might not have the opportunity to question that transfer. So that means that if I have any problems or issues, I might not have the set surrounding, which is happening with Visa and MasterCard with chargeback, to question that, okay, I didn't get the service or I got a different service, I paid for the blue shoe and I got the red. So that's why there are a lot of players which are eliminated because it's very direct. So it's good because it's direct. However, it has much more downfalls in terms of security, in terms of debate and whatnot. Now, the problem why Visa and MasterCard is afraid of that, because if this takes over, you don't need your plastic card. You don't need an extension of your bank account, which is connected to the card, where the card is enabling the payments. But with the open banking, through the application, with a couple of clicks, then you can actually send money directly. Now, in the UK, there is a law that the banks, the biggest banks, were really taking over the market, and there was no opportunity for new players to enter, which was obviously not good for market manipulation purposes. So they created this open banking law, which said that every bank has to create an API, which then can be used by these applications for the consumers to understand what are your fees, what are your terms and conditions, how you're moving funds, to be able to get all the data out of your banking and create a bit of like a competitive environment which benefits the customer, to be able to change banking really quickly and easily if they choose to do so. So that was the original idea. But now what we see, and mainly in the high-risk industry, is that since Visa and MasterCard is restricting a lot of payments, not just because they are illegal, which obviously needs to be restricted, but because there could be questionable reputation. So for example, offshore license, or certain industries which might be legal in one place and illegal at the other, then Visa and MasterCard became a burden. And, you know, people are creative and they try to go around the system and find the loophole. So the open banking, for some, could be used by the obvious bypassing of Visa and MasterCard, which is obviously tightening Visa and MasterCard even further. But the whole idea of the open banking is the ease, the speed, the security, whereby I'm just sending money directly from one bank account to another without an intermediary, card, wallet, anything in between.
Okay, but then we can't ignore the convenience, or maybe we call this the comfort zone of what Visa and MasterCard have done with, you know, plastic money, where basically globally you just take this card and you click and that's it, and now on the mobile phone, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's starting to grow there. So in my mind, if open banking doesn't embrace some form of application where they replace that portion of what Visa and MasterCard, because it's in my mind, right, is that convenience that Visa and MasterCard have allowed, is anywhere you are, you know, your bank, tap, click, instantly it's done over the SWIFT network, the SWIFT protocol, which is very old. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So it's a really old protocol, over 20 years. I mean, I don't even know how many years, but long. I mean, I remember 20 years ago in Bank of Cyprus, we were talking about SWIFT, and you know, that's a really old protocol. I don't know if Visa and MasterCard's linked to that, but it's just the way the banks work. Right? But this problem you mentioned with, you know, with open banking, where somebody could send money, but there's no way to do a chargeback, or that risk, I think, also applies to blockchain, crypto payments. So if I send someone money and it was a mistake, or I didn't get the service, I wanted to buy blue shoes, but the person sent me red shoes, and I want my money back, you can't, unless the person on the other side is friendly enough, you know, whatever it is, they send it back. But, you know, that is, let's say, you know, in terms of pros and cons, that is a negative side of it. Sure, even, you know, and some mistakes can happen. There was a tweet yesterday that my brother-in-law showed me. Somebody tried to send, I think in 9 Bitcoin, 500,000 euro to wherever. He wanted to cash out, this person, he or she. And I don't know, the user interface this person must have been using, he flipped it around. So instead of putting the actual money he gets and the fee, because, you know, you define the fee, he flipped it around. So he sent 500,000, he set 500,000 fee for a cents transaction. So some miner
Someone is
got that, and then he
happy
received,
now.
this person received 70 cents. And now, gone. That's gone. That's disappeared into the ether, into the thin air. These risks, I guess, in any new technology, as things evolve and the way money moves, I think come up, And it's good to talk about them. It's good to be knowledgeable about, what could go wrong. And, the more you get educated, the better, before you make a transaction like this person, first send a test. I always do
My
that.
point exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, send €1.
Send 10 euro.
Did you get it? Yeah, fine. Okay, then.
Now send. Yeah, 100%. And, so I think just if anybody takes away anything from this podcast, there's that one point. Do a test first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that could save you a lot of money.
But then again, it's common sense, but it's common sense for you and me because we have been there, we saw that, and it's obvious. And if someone does this transaction for the first time of their life, now they are hearing about it, it makes sense, but it might not come up as an automatic reaction to the first transaction. So that's why. But going back to your point, when open banking is helping people with the ease of transaction, this is also happening now. So Visa and MasterCard gave this opportunity for chargeback in order to take the mass adoption for online payments, because many times, back at the 80s and 90s when the internet started to boom, people did not really trust that. As you said, I don't see you, I don't really trust you if you're going to send me the right color of the shoes or whatnot. So just to increase the online purchases, Visa and MasterCard shifted the responsibility of any kind of wrongdoing fully to the merchant. So even if there is a debate and there is maybe the client is right or maybe the merchant is right, many times merchant is paying automatically instead of digging deep or investigating the situation further in order to defend the system, whereby people have trust in the system and they are increasing the online payments. Now, those days are gone. Nowadays, even if you don't trust it, everybody does it. This is a habit. So it was obvious that all those built-in responsibility and debate and refund kind of methods now are more forgotten because we get used to it. So we don't need that extra layer of security that if I'm buying something online and I'm getting something wrong, then I have the opportunity to question those transactions. And that's what helped the mobile wallets, the open banking, the direct bank wires, India, UPI or whatnot is taking place, because now people are, even though that they are still using the chargeback, but this is not as common advertisement for the payment methods like back at the day. It was that don't worry, if anything goes wrong, we still got you. Have trust in the system and buy things online. Nowadays, open banking is more about the convenience. And as you said, tap, Visa and MasterCard. Now you can do that with online banking as well. Application, tap, QR code, watch, everything. So obviously the innovation is getting there to help that. Again, you mentioned a very interesting point with the blockchain and the cryptocurrency, which is a technology which is not even regulated. So the added layer of difficulty here is that even though that you don't have chargeback in the bank wire, you can still have an opportunity to go to your banker and say that, whoa, help me, go to the police, investigate this, and they help you. With the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies, since it's not regulated, when you go to the police, they say, sorry, told you not to use that because it's dangerous, but you did it anyway, so mate, you're on your own. So in this way, you don't even have an opportunity to question anything. Meanwhile, with the traditional payment methods, at least there is some kind of remedy, there is some kind of justification that there's a criminal, take him down. If there is any way that you can come up with a new payment system which is completely unregulated and people can get away with it and no one is getting jailed by scamming people, what we saw many times, unfortunately, in the last couple of years, right? then there is no remedy, and that adds an extra layer of difficulty to the mass adoption, to the trust, and to those payment methods, which are still a bit like maybe legal, maybe not, because it's not trustworthy. That's all.
Yeah. So, and also I see this like for the merchant, all that responsibility is on the merchant, and in many cases maybe unfair, in an unfair way, and consumers, depending on the person, exploit that. Right, so I've got an example. This happened to me. So I went on Best Secret, clothes. Rung up a bill of like €700, paid. 6 weeks time. Normally, Best Secret send like within 2 weeks max. You got it, right? They deliver. 6 weeks passed. I didn't get the item. Didn't get the box. So I sent them a message. I go, guys, what's happening with this? Is it stuck somewhere? What's the problem? Whatever it is. So let me just remember how it happened. So they said, please bear with us. We are looking into it, whatever it is. The next day, they refunded my money. Okay, and they said, sorry about the inconvenience. Your package is lost somewhere. If you receive the items, no need to pay. It's yours. Sorry for the inconvenience. 3 days later, it came. So I got all that. I
know where I'm going to shop from now on.
So, the least I can do is at least, I didn't get back to them, but I'm a loyal customer. And if anything, I hope everybody subscribes there. I don't even want an affiliate from them there, but, that's for on the merchant side, it costs them so much more to challenge every single case because they didn't even ask me to prove. Right? I mean, how did they know I was lying? I wasn't lying. They didn't even ask me to prove it. I think it also plays a role that I was a lawyer. It wasn't my first purchase. I had a lot of purchases from before, so I think that also helps. But, in terms of calculating risk, it costs them a lot more. And they thought, we'll just pay this now. It's fine. And if anything, they made me even more committed, to be a loyal customer, so.
That's correct, yeah, because usually one unhappy customer creates 8 other where you're telling to people, I can't believe they scammed me, right? So the marketing cost, the lost opportunity cost, the this, the that. So overall, it was cheaper and quicker to refund you as a loyal customer and get you still engaged with them. And now you're talking about it. So clearly you're creating more clients for them, right? So overall, it was a lucky mistake for them that they justified it real quick. But again, this is customer service really. Now the other thing is that if you have a good, reliable payment service provider, you don't want to lose it. So if your chargeback is getting up to a certain level, which is normally usually 1%, then you might actually lose the whole payment provider, which triggers a whole new set of problems, sourcing new one, testing, due diligence, integration, overall shifting over, integrate with your CRM, who paid, who didn't, settlement with the bank. So you know what? Refund him. Refund him is cheaper and quicker and easier 100%. Than start to challenge the case and then open a whole new can of worms of problems.
Exactly. What is your feeling about blockchain? Because we spoke about it a little bit, but do you see crypto? I got the feeling that you're not very for crypto. I've just got that feeling. I don't know. But I'd like to hear your insight, coming from the traditional, you've got a good understanding on how the banking system works and payments and Visa and can Visa cards be linked to like paying crypto? I'm sure I've seen cases like this where you take a card, you pay, 100% this is the case, and you pay with a crypto balance. How did that pass? For example, since Visa is very strict. So just different questions I'm throwing out there, and also I'd like to hear your view on if you ever see crypto payments replacing the entire banking system as we know it today.
Well, with everything, there is an amazing idea, and it's good that people are challenging the status quo because the current financial system is far from perfect. This is what we could come up with. We are patching all the issues. There's a crack, the water comes out, put a patch on it and manage it somehow. So it's far from perfect, but this is what's the best that we could come up with. And the extra layer of fixing those patches are the new regulations and the new anti-money laundering and the new KYC policy and whatnot. You need to understand that banks have two main things which they need to keep under any circumstances. One is that you pay your taxes, and the second one, that you're not committing crime. So if there is something which is a good idea, back to the demand and supply, completely open market, you can trade with whatever, and it's massively adopted, but there is no central figure which is making sure of you're paying your taxes and you're not committing anything illegal, people get creative and might take advantage of the situation. And unfortunately, this is what we have seen on the market, right? So when the crypto came out at the beginning, I think there was some ridiculous, like 60, 70, 80% of the crypto back at the day was only used on the Silk Road and buying drugs. And
Silk Road,
they fund all those illegal activities. Why? Because there was no regulated figure which is making sure that you're not doing anything illegal with that, right? So that was something which is like money, but it was not regulated like money. So all the traditional market manipulation, pump and dump schemes, illegal activities were flourishing, right? Woo, free market for all, right? Then there was a lot of monopole conglomerations when the whales control the markets, increase the prices just by selling something and, demand. So it is good as an idea, but we still need to maintain somehow the financial system's integrity. So even though that we say that there shouldn't be any kind of centralized figure which is making all the decisions, there needs to be some sort of correction way, which is avoiding those obvious market manipulation methods or tax evasion or illegal activities, what we have seen with the crypto. So I am for crypto, in a way that it is used as a money, then it should be regulated as a money overall. So that's my idea. But as a mass adoption, I think there's going to be something which is piggybacking on the technology, which is a transparent ledger, which is the traceability. However, it's still going to be at least a bit maintained and managed by a central figure, which is managing the whole system, which then we are reaching into the CBDC, central bank digital currencies. But that's a whole, I think, a different podcast or even a whole series about what are the different problems with those, because the privacy, how does the central government is involving in your everyday life of what you can spend your money on, what not, how you're declaring it, they want to know everything, big brother conversation. But overall, I think this is where we are going for. Using the technology, using digital money, but there still has to be some kind of central figure which is making sure that you are not cheating your tax and you are actually not committing any crime.
I agree with that fully. I agree with that 100%. It's the only way, right? Yeah. Because if you leave it in its original concept, completely decentralized, I think has its flaws, right? Because not everybody has a good intention.
Yes.
So I agree with that. So Viktoria, that was really good insight about the crypto. What's your view around AI? How do you see AI impacting the banking sector?
AI impacts everything, and banking is not an exception. So while AI is making life harder for criminals because we've got more sophisticated fraud detection, we've got much more detailed KYC and AML checks, and it's much harder to cheat the system. Think about 20 years ago, we sent a black and white facts about our passport copyright. Now we do the face recognition and then holding the number and the liveliness check. As well as AI is opening up a new layer of difficulty when it comes to banking, because obviously it's not just the regulator which is getting more and more sophisticated, but unfortunately the criminals as well. So with the deep fakes, with all of those fake documents, nowadays it's not that hard to cheat the traditional system and outsmart the system and create something which is not real. And I think this is going to be the biggest challenge in real life as in banking, to determine what is the reality, what is truth, who are you really as a person, and how your money is entering the international financial system, and how to defend that financial system from criminals who are taking advantage of the AI in the wrong way.
What a beautiful answer, because we keep thinking about the upsides of AI and how it can help and whatever, but I'm guilty to this. I forget that the criminals have the same access to the same tools.
Oh yeah. And you know how people get creative, right, when it comes to money. So as soon as it makes any sense financially, someone's going to get there and outsmart the system for sure.
That's how things happen, how people evolve, right?
Exactly.
At the moment, Victoria, where do you live? Where do you live at the moment?
Cyprus.
You live in Cyprus?
I travel a lot, but Cyprus is still my home.
Yeah?
Yes.
How long have you been here?
17 years now, almost 20 with all the travels. But yeah, I say that Cyprus is absolutely my home. I still have not found a place where people are nicer, food is better, weather is amazing, and I believe that even though a lot of people say that Cyprus is a small country and that all the innovation is hitting us latest, I think Cyprus has a really good opportunity to be ahead of the curve because it's small. It is part of the EU. We are using euro as a main currency, but still we are independent enough to make the foreign capital flow into the country. And as you said, that we are all creative human beings. So it starts with the financial services. It goes through the tax benefits and the tax relief. For example, with the IP rights now, you can actually pay up to like 2.5% is the actual taxation when you're developing a software here in Cyprus and you shift over all your operation. Amazing. This is unheard of in the EU. And also, all the construction companies and all the new developments are happening. I think Cyprus has a really good potential to be a tech hub. And this is really the benefit of Cyprus, which is small, flexible, easy to handle from a financial perspective because it's EU and Euro, and overall the people are great and the opportunities are here.
So I'm going to ask a little bit of a challenging question here with regard to Cyprus and life over here. What would you say, living in Cyprus on a personal level, is the biggest positive highlight and what is the most negative?
Whatever is the most, like the biggest positive, it is the biggest negative as well. That you know everyone, you get comfortable, and life gets easy because you become part of the community, which is amazing. So this is absolutely a positive thing. However, it does not get you out of your comfort zone and forces you to change things. So that's why the innovation might come a bit later, because don't rock the boat. We are fine as we are. We don't want all this new wave of technologies and innovations and whatnot. I know you for 20 years. That's what makes my decision instead of cost effectiveness or innovation or integration ease or whatnot. So whatever is a positive, it can be also seen as a negative, which is a closed, supportive, traditional, consistent community. So
it's a real dynamic. What you've just, it's true. What many refer to as mason. You've got the connections.
Exactly.
So okay, and what? Just a kind of final question over here, Victoria, because we're closing in on an hour over here, and I want to know, you've written a book.
That's right.
Could you give? Because I'm also thinking about it, right? I have made thoughts of writing a book. I don't even know where to start. Can you tell us what were the challenges and how does someone go about writing a book?
I wrote this book to be able to use it, first of all, as a marketing tool to get the message out there and raise awareness of the problem of the banking system, of the payment providers, of all that hidden information that we just discussed, because it's not that easy to find online. So raise awareness of the issue and the industry as a whole. and allow the merchants or the online businesses to understand the banking side of the setups as well. And my aim was with writing this book is to clarify a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings around compliance, around banking, and as we said, how money moves and what are the limitations and opportunities. Writing the book is not hard if you have something to say, because I've seen so many books, not necessarily about this subject, but talking about general information, which you can really feel that the writer is struggling to fill up with content. But if you have something to say, then the words are coming by themselves. Now, you do need a professional to put everything together in a readable format. So I had an editor who was helping me a lot to put this together, because you need to start somewhere, obviously unfold certain questions, certain issues, explain the background, what led to compliance, what led to the problems, then give some kind of resolution or solution to the reader, and overall put it in a summarized format, which is easy to understand for people who are not even coming from the industry. So for that, I think you do need help, or at least I needed some help with that. But after that, publishing a book nowadays, as everything nowadays is easy, because what you need to do is that if you want to publish your book on Amazon, you just upload the PDF, you just upload the front cover, and that's it. You just published it. So cost-wise, it could be a very, very effective marketing tool. And if you have a message and, as I said, something to say that you want to put out there, it could be a really good channel to get your voice heard and raise awareness of those issues that you want to talk about.
Is there no approval process from Amazon? Like you can upload a book and then it's just immediately published?
Yeah,
or?
of course they are. I think they are using AI there as well, just to filter out all that content. So of course, if you are encouraging people to commit crime or self-harm, it's going to be restricted by obvious reasons. But after that, if you are just talking about which is really important and interesting, then they publish the book for you, and then it's basically that's the self-publishing part.
It makes sense. If you got something to write about, and when I was looking into this, it was a while ago, but you've inspired me. Now I'm going to look into this again. Is tips that I saw is you got to build the topic. Obviously, it's 3 parts. One of the suggestions that were out there that I found. You kind of describe first the problem and the issues, then you get into a solution, and then a conclusion. Right. So, and I also made thoughts of, instead of getting an editor, we've got ChatGPT, the brother next door,
exactly.
The editor, the magician. He can do everything. That's right. Yeah, with content. So,
and maybe that's your last opportunity. Then you can actually publish a book with your own thoughts, because now with ChatGPT is getting more and more sophisticated, everyone can just throw a content there, just an idea, just one sentence. And I think we are not far away that ChatGPT is developing a whole content for you. So then we are stepping into the area whereby it's going to be very hard to filter out what is the original thought, what is the original idea from all that noise which is created by ChatGPT. So I think there is no better time to do it now. So I really think that this is a good idea.
I'm not saying like you're going to ChatGPT and say, write me a book, enter, and then say, I did this. No.
Some of them do that, that's right.
No, I think, use it. You've got your own thoughts.
Yes.
Write it in the way that you best think is whatever. All I'm going to use it for is for clarity in what I'm the message that I'm trying to pass, right? Clarity and grammar, right?
That is great.
So that's it. But, my thoughts, my thing, because what's the use of writing a book if it's not your own thoughts? I mean, anybody.
That's my point, because your competition might be that noise.
Yeah, exactly.
And you need to
You're
create some unique,
Correct.
and your unique ideas is just, until now, more or less, I would say the majority of the books are still unique. But I think we are very close to that era when it's going to be very hard to find the unique thoughts and the unique ideas of this noise of different ChatGPT generated content. Maybe the time is the lost opportunity now to write that book.
Viktoria, thank you very much for your time, your valuable insights. I enjoyed this conversation quite a lot.
Thank you.
please give some closing comments over here. I'll provide links. Let's make sure that we put a link to the Amazon. Let's make sure that that happens as well. Or provide your links. The Amazon link. I don't want any affiliate, commissions or whatever it is. It's all good. But yeah, I mean, very valuable book. This is, from my side, I enjoyed that book. Very easy, the way you describe it. Thank you for that. Let's hear some closing comments, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much again to have me in this show. I hope that I communicated some real values to the audience. The summary of this podcast is that whatever you do, you need to have people around you who is advising you on that profession. Let it be law, let it be accounting, let it be tax, or let it be banking and payments, which in my opinion is very underrepresented. However, it is a big part of every entrepreneur, every international business. So as a summary, read the book. That is obviously just the tip of the iceberg of the whole industry as a whole. And if you have any further comments or questions, I'm very happy to talk to everyone. So please hit me up. You see the links at the down there, and feel free to write to me or question anything about what I'm writing in the book, and have a chat about me, about banking and payments.
Excellent. Thank you. It's a wrap.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that episode. Remember to hit the like button. Comment down below if you have any guests you'd like me to interview and any topic you'd like me to discuss in future episodes.